Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November 2nd, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, as usual, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know that there's much for us to argue about today. But
there always is something. I don't know.
Maybe we'll stumble upon something as we go along here. But I got to assume, I'm just going to assume that you agree with me on the absolute ridiculousness of this. I'll call it a notice put out by the ACC yesterday that Miami is being reprimanded. They're being reprimanded for using too many headsets on the sideline at Pittsburgh. All right, that's a first, but it was such scintillating news, we decided to just post it on our message boards and not even bother writing a story about it. But now that we've drummed up so much curiosity, I'm sure, out there in the Canes Nation who were watching Good Morning CaneSport this morning, let me read everybody this notice that came from the ACC on Monday afternoon. The University of Miami violated NCAA football playing rule 1-4-12, which pertains to coaches' phones, headsets, and communication devices, and consistent with the playing rule is being issued a public reprimand and, get this, a 20% reduction in communication devices for this week's game against Georgia Tech. So that means that, the rule is the teams must exchange a headset sheet with the other team before the game. Totally ridiculous. And a team credential list. Okay, fine. At least 90 minutes prior to the contest. They are limited to 23 communication devices. So that means Miami had more than 23 people on headsets at the game on Saturday. I'm not sure who was counting. I'm assuming somebody from Pittsburgh was like checking it out and spying and turned Miami in to the, the ACC office on this thing. So a 20% reduction, I guess, would mean, 20% of 23 would be 4.6. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to come up with reducing Miami 4.6 headsets, Matt. Does that mean that they have to round it out to 5 and now only 18 Miami staffers will be able to wear headsets against Georgia Tech? Or do they just say 4 and go 19? Your thoughts?
Well, obviously, you should not have worn a headset at the game, Gary. That was wrong. I think you should apologize to the Miami Hurricanes program. If you had not worn that headset, they would not have been over the limit. You were intercepting all their communications. And, it was either that or fire Blake James. I don't know how to respond. I've never seen anything like this. I have no idea what the hell it means. I don't, to me, the more people with headsets, the worse it is. Because, how many lines of communication and voices do you want in your head at one time? They should be, praising Miami for having too many headsets, Pittsburgh. They should be have 50 headsets, Miami. We want all these voices coming at you. You can't figure out who's talking or what the hell's going on.
Yeah, who the hell is talking to everybody?
Miami has too many headsets. I don't understand the whole thing whatsoever.
Let's think about this. Okay, obviously Manny Diaz needs a headset that connects him to Rhett Lashley and Bob Shoop. Okay, now I'm not sure how they wire in everybody else on the staff and who's hooked up to whom and all those things. But man, honestly, I would think 23 headsets would be enough.
Is it possible they just didn't turn in the sheet they were supposed to? Because it makes no sense why they had more headsets.
Yeah, I don't know. But if they just failed to turn in the sheet, why would they be publicly reprimanded?
But why didn't mention the sheet if that's not part of the problem? I don't know. I know we'll have to ask Manny about it at some point if somebody even wants to waste their question on this. But it's stupidity. I don't think it matters. Who cares? It's the dumbest thing ever.
I can't wait to ask Manny about it on Wednesday because I want to see what he says about it. Just out of curiosity, by Wednesday, what better question will there be to ask than what Manny thinks about headset gate and Manny, why were you using 24 or 25 headsets up at Pittsburgh or whatever? I would love to know the answer to that question. So we'll see. Maybe something better will come up by Wednesday when we get to talk to Manny again. But I think it'd be a great question. Anyway, so Miami's going to have to use less headsets against Georgia Tech. I'm not quite sure what impact that's going to have on the game. I'm going to guess a bigger impact on the game, Matt, is going to be Rhett Lashley's play calling. And one of the stories that we have on the website this morning, I found to be very, very, very fascinating. Had the chance to ask some, good questions of Rhett. I thought yesterday afternoon, and a couple interesting things came out of it. And he talked a little bit about a private sit down that he had after the North Carolina game with Tyler Van Dyke, where he went over every play in the game and had Tyler just go through the thought process with him and tell him what he was thinking. He took Tyler out of the quarterback's room, left the other quarterbacks there with some of the other assistants and stuff, and went into his office with Tyler one-on-one, and they watched the game together. And I kind of loved it. I don't think you can knock anything going on with Tyler Van Dyke right now. He's playing at a great level. But the other thing that I thought that came up in the conversation, to me, is a big part of the reason why not just Tyler Van Dyke, but the whole offense is thriving. And that is Rhett Lashley has started calling the games more aggressively. And the players have quietly in the background, when things were kind of rough, were urging Coach Lashley to open it up a little bit more and just loosen the reins on the playbook. Lashley admitted in the Virginia game that he was way too conservative, that he felt like he had an inexperienced quarterback going out there and doing it really for the first time, and he didn't want to overload him. And he flat admitted, I was too conservative. And man, mad props to Rhett Lashley. You never see coaches admit that they might have done something wrong. And that conservatism, quite frankly, might have led to that game going down to the wire the way it did. And of course, the kick bounces off the upright, and Miami ends up not winning. And that was kind of season altering, quite frankly. I mean, the way things are going. I mean, we'll see how these games play out. I guess Miami could still win the Coastal Division of the ACC. It's not so totally far fetched. But that was a big, big, big game, obviously. And Rhett Lashley was very conservative in that game, and like I said, he admitted it and talked about how he was protecting Tyler Van Dyke. But Matt, the biggest thing is, because of the way that Tyler Van Dyke has played the last 2 weeks, he doesn't feel like he has to protect them anymore. I mean, it's not like he's a finished product as a quarterback. He's not even close to a finished product. But he has performed at such a high level 2 weeks in a row now that Lashley can go into the game with the confidence that Van Dyke is going to make the good decisions when he has options on the play calls, and that the offense is going to function in a quality manner.
Okay, so I mean, look, whenever Rhett Lashley does an interview, I don't know why, but he's like way too honest sometimes. Like,
no, I love it. You're going to knock him for being too honest? All right.
Can I talk?
No, we finally found something to argue about. I mean, do you know how refreshing it is for a coach to be honest?
You're going to agree with me after I finish talking. Okay?
All right, go ahead.
You're like I was wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I love that this guy who's been coaching forever did something different. And he saw Tyler Van Dyke and said, you come in my office, we're doing it this one-on-one. Because he knows Tyler's personality. Tyler wants to learn. He learns better in a one-on-one environment. Freaking genius. Genius move by Rhett Lashley. When I say he's too honest, okay, it's fine that he says he was too conservative against Virginia. I mean, that's no secret. Everyone knew that. You have a first-year quarterback. Of course you know that. When I say he's too honest, he literally said in the interview that he's not going to run quarterback sneaks with Tyler Van Dyke because they don't want him to get hurt. They got no depth. He literally said that Tyler's not going to have designed runs. Why would you tell another team that?
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that aspect. No, you're right. He should have said.
He's going to learn when to be honest and when not to answer a question. Just because he's asked that question, are you trying to protect Tyler Van Dyke because you have no depth? You don't say, yeah, we're not going to run quarterback sneaks with him. We're not going to do a lot of RPO runs. No, you don't say that.
Or he's got to play possum and now run a quarterback sneak against Georgia Tech.
Right, but then Tyler gets hurt. Everyone knows he doesn't want to get Tyler hurt. I get it. But don't tell other teams that. They don't necessarily know. He did quantify it at one point and tried to go back a little bit and say, well, I am trying to win the games. But he already said it. Look, I love Rhett Lashley to death. I do think that obviously he screwed up in the Virginia game, and great that he admitted it. But like, don't tell other teams your game plans ever, and like to tell them that guy's not going to run the ball much is like that was just not real smart in my opinion. But genius move on bringing Tyler in one-on-one after that game. Genius move.
So we've got that Rhett Lashley interview on the website today. And before I go any further, we just popped it up on the screen. If you're not a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please join us on the website. We survive by subscriptions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. Hit the like button. Everything you can do. All right, with that commercial out of the way, Manny Diaz also spoke yesterday, Matt, and something that I thought was interesting was actually a question that you asked him was about recruiting. And look, recruiting's not going well. We don't sugarcoat here. It's not. Maybe it'll get better in the next month and a half or whatever, but it's not going great. It looks like most of the top players from South Florida are leaving. Miami's life and death with the best player on their board, in my opinion, and that's Chris Graves, the defensive back from Fort Myers. He's going to be taking visits. He's going to, he's been enamored by Florida, but Florida's struggling like hell. And as an aside, now that I mentioned Florida, it just popped in my head. They have shut down all of the media access in Gainesville this week, okay, because they're rattled. They're rattled because they've been losing. And none of the coaches are speaking. The players aren't speaking. They've shut it all down, okay? That's gutless, man. I mean, at least at Miami, when they suck, at least they come out front and they talk to you and about sucking. Gainesville, they are hiding in holes, okay? That's a good thing for Miami, quite frankly, because I think some of these kids that are considering going to Gainesville are going to start to, question what's going on up there. And that's going to help Miami. And it might help Miami in the end with Graves. Maybe they keep him, maybe they don't. But to get back to my original point, Matt, recruiting's not going great. And your question was so applicable because you asked Manny Diaz how he balances the transfer portal with traditional recruiting. And he said that they look at it on a position-by-position basis and evaluate it based on their needs at that position. And that tells me that they're planning on using the portal quite a bit.
Yeah, let me go back a second, too, when I tried to cut you off, but I couldn't.
That's all right.
So, Miami's philosophy has always been we're an NFL program. They were like one of the last programs to shut the locker room down. No team now has open locker rooms. One of the last programs to not you talk to any player you wanted to, just one-on-one with nobody watching over your shoulder. Miami's going to treat these kids like adults. This is the whole mantra at Miami is preparing these young student athletes to become professional football players. And that's not just like what they sell to families it's not just on the field. It's up here. It's preparing to talk to the media when you're in the NFL. And the fact that Florida has done this is basically telling families of recruits that we're not going to prepare you for the NFL. We're going to hide and not let them talk to media when things are bad. Like in the NFL, there's literally an NFL rule. Whether you win or lose, whether you're 0-15 or 15-0, every single week you have to provide access to X number of players for X number of minutes. And if they don't show up, they get fined. Marshawn Lynch, famously would show up not to get fined, but then would just say like a word as an answer, no matter what the question was, that sort of thing. So kudos to Miami for being a professional program. You notice at Florida, not so much. As to the transfer portal, I tried to sort of hammer Manny down after his initial answer. I don't know if you guys want to watch. It was the first question asked at the press conference yesterday, the virtual press conference. But I was really trying to find out how many, incoming freshman signees are going to take versus how many transfer portal people they plan to take. And from what Manny basically said to me on my follow-up question, told me they have no plan. Because in recruiting, every year, okay, here's what we anticipate. Here's how many we need at each position. Because you got to recruit these kids 2-3 years out, anticipating who's going to be gone and how many holes you have, because you need to balance your classes. That's a big thing in college football. You have to balance your classes. Coaches talk about it all the time. You got to have a freshman quarterback, a sophomore quarterback, a junior quarterback, and a senior quarterback normally on a normal team, because otherwise nobody wants to play with another quarterback in their same class typically. And the same thing at running back typically. Maybe you'll take 2 in a single year, but that's only if you skip the previous year. Same thing at quarterback. You have to skip a sophomore and only have junior and senior if you want 2 freshman quarterbacks, right? You plan ahead. 2-3 years in advance, you plan ahead. Now, they're not getting the kids they want out of the high school ranks this year. Yeah, they don't need very many numbers, but they certainly should have an idea that, hey, we need this many DBs, this many corners, this many safeties, this many receivers, this many running backs, whatever, in this class. And they already know what they're getting because they have 8 commitments and they know which way people are leaning by this point. I mean, it's not like rocket science, okay? It's not magically going to change and everyone wants to come here. So the fact that he couldn't even say to us, our plan moving forward is, 10 signees in the high school, whatever, something around that, whatever. And, all I asked him was a 50-50 combo. I didn't even ask him for numbers. So the fact he couldn't even say 50-50, whether that's 10 high school recruits and 10 transfer portal kids, means to me, and he basically had no answer other than my position coaches will let me know what they need. It tells me he hasn't made a plan. And that bothers me. I don't think he was lying and they have a plan. Why would he not say, yeah, we're going to hit the portal, probably equal numbers with high school recruits. We got to get more depth on the upper class because we have young kids. There's no harm in saying that. It's no secret. So the fact he couldn't even say that says to me they're playing this with a wing and a prayer, which I feel like he's done sort of in the portal before. A guy comes in the portal, ooh, that kid's good, let's get him. And then they grab him versus, hey, let's look for this position, and every time a kid comes in, evaluate that position. It doesn't seem they're doing that, and that bothered me. So I don't know if you saw it differently the way he responded, but that's how I viewed it. And I just wish he sort of had more of a plan that he could have shared with the media.
I'm not sure. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other on that. One thing I do have an opinion on is the importance of the transfer portal in college football today, and I think it's the programs that are managing the transfer portal the best that are getting the most out of it. And Miami has done that at times with some of the players they've gotten. The team that unquestionably did it the best this year is Michigan State. I mean, picking up 15, 16 players, and now they're sitting there undefeated in the top 5. Whoever's doing their work in the transfer portal needs to get a raise, I'll tell you that. But I think that in today's world of college football, you better have a plan for the transfer portal, and you better be doing a damn good job of evaluating the guys that are going in there before you make a move on them, or before you don't make a move on them and end up missing out on somebody. And, look at that running back for Michigan State, Walker, I think his last name was, that just is destroying everybody. That kid was at Wake Forest last year and decides to go in the transfer portal, which means anybody in the country could have gone and grabbed him. And the fact to me that he went to Michigan State tells me that not too many people made a move on him. They probably just looked at running back Wake Forest and didn't really give 5 flying diddlies. And, that's to me a separator in the transfer portal. I mean, you got to have somebody in the program that looks at everybody that goes in the portal. You have to have that covered internally to where you are doing a full review, because look, I mean, Michigan State is living proof that you could find good players in the portal. I mean, some of these kids are 4-star level kids. That kid Walker from Michigan State, he might be a 5-star level running back that somehow ends up in the portal from Wake Forest. Why the heck they let him go at Wake Forest, I have no idea, but I'd have to do some research on that. But the transfer portal is here to stay. It's a big part of college football, and I think that every program needs to manage it properly, including Miami. And I hope that as it goes forward here, if Manny sticks or a new head coach comes in, whatever, that managing the transfer portal takes on a bigger priority. At Miami, I've been on record as saying for a long time now, the personnel department in general needs to be significantly better. They've got some really good player relations guys, Cooney, Pata, but they need talent evaluators in that program. There's a huge void there, in my opinion, something that needs to be addressed. That's why I was so high on the Alonzo Highsmith concept, because I felt like if he came in as a GM per se of Miami football, that one of the things that he could do is he could go bring in those talent evaluators. He knows them all. He knows everybody in the National Football League. Go raid the NFL, bring a couple talent evaluators to Miami that want to live on South Beach, and go to work and start doing a better job in the selection of players. And you'll have less misses, I think, in recruiting classes. All right, continuing on, Matt, with our stories on the website today. We've got our weekly Canes in the NFL feature. Get a recap on what all the pro Canes did in the NFL this week. We also have our Tracking the Commits feature. You can catch up on what the Miami Commits did in their high school games this past week. And we have a recruiting story on offensive lineman, a 4-star Malik Agbo from out west. And he talks about how Miami's still in it, and you can get an update on that. And then later today, we will have an update with TVD himself, the man of the hour. He'll be talking to us later today, and we'll have that on the website around midday for you. So that's going to do it for today. I'm getting Matt out of here before he starts arguing with me about something. And we're going to wish you guys a great day. Enjoy it. Come back to the website midday for the TVD update. And then we'll see you again tomorrow morning with another Good Morning CaneSport. Oh, let me throw in program note. Tonight, 8 p.m., CaneSport Live returns. Always an interesting show. And we'll be back with that tonight at 8 p.m. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Have a great day, everybody.